All right, here we go. What is up, everyone? Today is July 27th, 2026. Today I'm going to be going over the first step in my strategy. I know I've been getting a lot of questions in my DMs on Instagram about my strategy and basically all the steps that it entails. So today's going to just be going over like the basic candle structure, and then also how I figure out bias every single morning just before 10 a.m. Just to go over some of the quick basics here, I have this trading PDF that I ended up building for the strategy. Here are the results over the past. This was for 2025 right here. This was following a 1-to-1 risk reward. I ended up having a 68.82% win rate, which was very good. I had a profit factor of 2.4. And then, and then this was also just using one mini per trade over the course of 7 months. So starting out with time, every morning I'm only trading New York AM session. I'm trading from 10 a.m. all the way up until the end of the 11:10 macro. I know this says 12, so I'm going to go ahead and change it. I end up trading all the way through 11:10 to the end of that macro right there. I do not trade PM session just because really these results come from New York AM session, and also this is when I'm mainly on the charts. I'm not on the charts at all during the PM session. I'm sort of just either at the gym or doing something that I want to be doing for the rest of the day. So, and then we are looking at S&P 500 and NASDAQ, and we're only executing on the NASDAQ. So today we're going to be going over step 1, which is going to be bias. I end up getting my bias from the 4-hour time frame. So we're just going to go over a bunch of examples, and then also how to read open, high, low, close. Basically going over extremely basic candle structure. So I typically get on the charts around 9:50 in the morning, every single morning, no matter what the news is, unless it's a bank holiday. Bank holidays, I do not participate in the market. So I get on around 9:50, and super easy to determine bias as long as you understand basic candle structure, where prices open, where they close, and if you understand wicks, how we reject. The very first thing I do, I mark out the 6 a.m. candle right here. This is the candle, the 4-hour candle before 10 a.m. opens. So this candle right here typically determines on whether this next 4-hour candle would open high and have a low close, or vice versa if we open low and end up having a high close. So the way I determine my bias going into 10 a.m. is I mark out this 2 a.m. candle low, the wick, and then the 2 a.m. candle high, the wick. So each side of the wick, every single 4-hour candle has a wick on each side. That is considered the high and the low of each candle. If the candle is a green candle, right after the 4-hour closes, this would be considered the opening price of that candle. So you have to understand, if it's a green candle, if we're moving up and the candle closes bullish, the bottom of the candle is that candle's opening price, okay? And then the closing price is wherever the candle closes. So in this case scenario, we have a bullish candle. This is going to be the closing price right here, wherever the body closes, okay? And then that's where the next candle opens, is at the closure of every single previous candle. Now, the way that I look at bias is I have both sides marked out right here, and then I look for a this 6 a.m. candle closure, right, which closes right before 10 a.m. because it's a 4-hour candle. I wait for it to close outside of one of these wicks. Okay. Or this, we'll go over this example later, but in this case scenario where I'm looking for a closure outside of either the high or the low. So you can see this 4-hour candle right here at 6 a.m. ends up closing all the way down here below this 2 a.m. candle low. And a question you guys may have is, does it matter how far beneath it closes below the low? No, it does not at all. Okay, this 6 a.m. candle could have literally closed right below this 2 a.m. low. It does not matter at all how far down it closes. This is going to cause me to have a bearish bias. I'm using today, Monday, as an example. Unfortunately, we did not have a trade today that we could have executed, but we did end up creating a bias. So this was super easy for you guys to understand just for the first step before going into the 3-part, because it really takes 3 steps for me to enter a trade. But this is just going over bias. So this is the first example. This is how you have a bearish bias right here. Okay, we close below this 2 a.m. wick, right? We close below it going into 10 a.m. What do I want to see? I want to see us open high, have a low close. Super, super simple. There's nothing else much to it, just as long as you understand the opens and the closes of these 4-hour candles. It is extremely easy to use. It's very mechanical for your bias. The reason why I ended up choosing, trying to find a bias this way is because it's super mechanical. I always found over the past year and a half that I've been trading that developing a bias for me has been sort of tough. So I wanted to develop a mechanical way to look for a bias going into 10 a.m. So I want to show you guys here. Okay, we'll just go day by day. This is going to be another clear example of a bearish bias. Okay, we have our 6 a.m. candle right here, and we mark out this 2 a.m. candle low right here, and then we mark out the high right here. This candle closes at 9:59 in the morning, so we clearly displace and we close below 2 a.m. candles low. So this would cause me to have a bearish bias. 10 a.m. open high, low close. Okay, we end up creating this wick up in here. We don't end up closing bearish on this candle here, but there was a trade that ended up playing out perfectly on this day. Okay, so that's another example. We'll get into hopefully try to find a bullish example here. Okay, here's a very clear bullish example right here. Mark out your 6 a.m. 4-hour candle. Then you're going to mark out the high of the 2 a.m. candle right here. And then you're going to mark out the low. 6 a.m. candle opens. We end up going lower, then creating this wick, and then the body closes above the 2 a.m. candle high. The body closes above the 2 a.m. candle high. So this would be a bullish scenario where we want to see 10 a.m. open low, high close. Very simple. All you have to understand is where this 6 a.m. candle is closing. Are we closing above the high or below the low? I sort of want to make it repetitive just so that way you guys fully understand the bias part, just so that way we're all on the same page. Okay, so this is going to be the second type of bias that I find in the morning. This one is a little bit more complicated just because it's actually not that complicated. If you understand the first one, you'll definitely be able to understand this second one. So for this one, This is the 6 a.m. candle. Notice how we wick above 2 a.m. candle high, and then we close back within each side. So we close within this range, right? We close back within the high in between the low. The thing is, though, with this is that we leave this low untouched. This 6 a.m. candle, 4-hour candle, never touches the 2 a.m. candle low. We do wick past the 2 a.m. candle high, and we close back below. So for this case, I would have a bearish bias. Going into 10 a.m., I'd want to see an open high, low close. Okay. This one can be possibly complicated for new beginners to understand, but once you end up understanding this concept, it becomes extremely easy. You literally need like 2 seconds to be able to spot this in the market. So yeah, we wick above the high, leave 2 a.m. candle low untouched, close back within the range. That's going to leave me with a bearish bias. If you guys have any questions on that one, you guys can just DM me or leave it in the comment section for this YouTube video. We'll get another repetition bias right here. This is another prime example of what I just showed you. Same exact scenario. Mark out your 2 a.m. candle high, and then mark out your 2 a.m. candle low. For this one, you sort of got to zoom in here, but what we do is we wick above the 2 a.m. candle high, and if you zoom in, we close back inside the range while leaving this 2 a.m. candle low untouched. So when 10 a.m. opens right here, I want to see an open high, low close. And you can see we ended up creating this wick at 10 a.m. and we ended up creating a bearish candle lower. So that would be how I found a bearish bias. We'll go over, here's a good example of a day that I won't trade. This was a day where I did not trade. And this is a day that I have no bias in the market. So if you zoom in really close here, we end up sweeping out 2 a.m. candle high, and then we also sweep out 2 a.m. candle low. So we sweep out both sides. In this case scenario, we would need this 6 a.m. candle to close either above or below the 2 a.m. candle low or high. So we would need, instead this candle closes back within the range while sweeping out both the low and the high. This would be a day where I have no bias, just because, you know, we're stuck within this range, and we also swept out both sides. So going into 10 a.m., I would just not be trading 10 a.m. open high low close or open low high close. So yeah, that's basically how I find my bias every single morning. If you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comment section, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. This will be a playlist that I'm going to be uploading, just basically going over this PDF. So today we went over bias. We went over bullish examples, bearish examples, when not to trade, and then also we went over whenever we wick above the high or the low. Super easy to understand. This should be like the easiest concept, I believe, to understand. Once I learned about this whole mechanical bias, it literally clicked within 10 minutes, 15 minutes of me learning about it. And yeah, this PDF is pretty helpful. I think eventually I will be sharing this PDF. I just want to make sure that it's private, and that way none of you guys can edit it. But that was a super easy video on how I find my bias. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you.